Good evening and welcome, everyone. I'm so happy we are all together to celebrate 20 years of Free Minds. We're calling this gathering the power of community because that's what Free Minds is, a very special community of caring and love. Tonight, we will honor and celebrate our members, thank you, our amazing volunteers and supporters, and have an important and timely conversation with our honoree and good friend, Clint Smith. First, I want to give you a few quick tips. If you want to see captions on your screen, click on the small button that says CC. And I'm so thrilled we have so many people tuning in all over the globe, and we want to hear from you. Post where you are watching and any messages or questions you have for Clint in the chat. We want to hear from you. I'm also thrilled to know that we have watch parties all across the country: Philadelphia, Alaska, Chicago, San Francisco, and right upstairs where I am in our Free Minds office in DC with all our members and our loved ones. Thank you all for being here. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to recognize the violence and suffering in Palestine and Israel and around the world. Our hearts and minds are with everyone affected by acts of war. We at Free Minds work tirelessly for and envision a world free from state-sanctioned violence and all forms of incarceration. A world where everyone can experience true liberation, abundance, and peace. We at Free Minds have tragically lost beloved members to violence, and when times are hard, we gather together. We share the pain, we find hope and healing in our community, our Free Minds family, together supporting each other and caring for each other. That's what we are honoring tonight. That's what has kept us going for the past 20 years and will continue our movement as a guiding force in the years to come, the power of community. Now, Free Minds poet ambassador Gene Downing will start us off with a performance of his moving original poem, A Time to Heal. After Gene, you'll see an incredible video produced by our good friend Odile, sharing how Free Minds began with our co-founder, Kelly Taylor, and visionary Glen McGinnis. Now, over to you, Gene.
They say time heals all wounds. But ironically, time created mine. From murder, robbery, and other related crimes, got me snatched from my city into a different state of mind. But my creative mind created a line between construction and destruction. And I chose the former. Plus, I've seen every form of nefarious acts. It ain't normal. See, you and I, we're not much different. We've all had issues that cut deep through the meat and into the white tissue. No light issues, but life issues. Plight, sight, visuals, right rituals, all to mend what's not been right with you. But to no avail. Because the only way to get right with you is to visit yourself. Don't need an invite. Just take a deep look inside. Now that's insight. Don't pretend like this pretend life and that pain is on vacay and that emotions are meant to be withheld like taxes on payday. Then attach the fact that attach the backs to burdens that attach to blacks like attack on blacks. No, wait. Wait. That's a different wound. but it bleeds the same. No, these are bandages that need to change. No, wait, I need to see the change. That's right, I said I need to see the change. No, wait, I need see the change. No, strike that. I need to be the change. Because every beating left a feeling that healing was impossible. And for every obstacle, success improbable. But every minuscule molecule that makes up my biological lacks patience in your psychological hospital. Only scriptures, no prescriptions in my arsenal. Because it's going to take more than time for my wounds to heal by far. But if time does heal all wounds, it still leaves a scar. A time to heal, y'all. Thank you. And happy anniversary, Free Minds. I love you.
Ay, don't wait up. I've been working hard every day, living dreams for a pay stub. Yeah, straight up. 5 years later, like I said, I would make it on my way up. It's all up, coming from the nation, made a foundation, true stuff. Yeah, too tough. We ain't giving up on our dreams, everything is ahead of us. Stay true to your path, it's not where you start, it's all where you're at. It's where you end up when your back's to the mat. Do you cripple the flat or get up off your back? Deliver these facts to see them react. The stadium's packed, they all gonna snap. The motivated attract, the escalated attack. The frustrated hit back, yeah, we move fast. I wanna change everything. I swear I'll do anything just to get where I wanna be. I won't stop till I'm free. I won't stop till I'm free. I won't stop, no. I won't let go. I won't drop, no. And I won't let go. I won't stop, no. I won't let go. I won't drop, no. And I won't let go. It's automatic, I'm always getting after it. If you ain't working, I don't understand what's happening. There's not enough time just to be imagining. You gotta take some action towards practicing. I know it's not easy, but you gotta get out there. Make your own meaning, can't afford to have doubts. They'll interrupt dreaming, I just wanna look out there. The crowd all screaming. I wanna change everything. I swear I'll do anything just to get where I wanna be. I won't stop till I'm free. I won't stop till I'm free. I won't stop, no. I won't let go. I won't drop, no. And I won't let go. I won't stop, no. I won't let go. I won't drop, no. And I won't let go. I won't stop, no. I won't let go. I won't drop, no. And I won't let go. I won't stop, no. I won't let go. I won't drop, no. And I won't let go.
Wow, it is absolutely incredible to look back at these last 20 chapters of Free Minds, to see the development of the programming, the community advocacy for system change, and most importantly, the members writing their new chapters. So truly moving. And it reminds me once again why I choose to be a volunteer with Free Minds. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jasmine Tyler, and I have the privilege of serving as the chair of the Free Minds Board of Directors. More than anything, this role is an honor and a privilege. I get to serve the Free Minds mission and its members every day. I get to be a part of something transformative, not only for the Free Minds community, but for our larger community. I get to see the impact of support systems in action during and after incarceration. And I get to be here tonight with all of you celebrating the first 20 chapters and beginning to write the 21st, 22nd, and all the next chapters to come. These chapters can't be written alone, and we need you to join us. Tonight, as we gather together, we must pledge to do more for our members. We are lucky to collaborate with members like Joe, who went from being incarcerated as a teen in the adult criminal system to founding his own fitness company with the goal of reducing health disparities in DC. Shout out to We Fit DC. We get to share in the joy of fatherhood and marriage with Charlie, who 16 years after we first met him is now a devoted husband and father of 3. He even won an award for Father of the Year. And we get to celebrate the accomplishments of members like Deontay, who was able to complete his college degree in prison using books from Free Minds when he couldn't attend classes because of lockdowns. Free Minds truly is a family. My own cousin Zachy became a Free Minds member years ago, and he continues to be one of our most inspired and inspiring poets among us. I'm asking you now to open your hearts, your minds, and your wallets, of course, to help Free Minds sustain this work today and fuel the work for tomorrow. I'm not only asking you to dig deep and make a gift to honor this milestone, I'm making my own gift too. As I said before, it is an honor and a privilege to be a part of Free Minds. And I am fortunate to be here with you all tonight, standing in solidarity with my heart open, my credit card out, and my eyes just a little watery at the sense of community I feel right now at this moment. Please join me. Give now what you can and help us see these next chapters to fruition. You can click the link on your screen, text the number provided, or scan the QR code. You can also send us a check to the address listed below and be a part of the movement of healing and have a real impact.
Congratulations to Freeman's Book Club for 20 extraordinary years of services to community, to people, transformation. My name is Tyrone Parker, and I'm the former executive director of the Alliance of Concerned Men. And I've had the blessing and the opportunity to know Kelly and Tyra for those 20 years. And it has been extraordinary times for us as a community, as a city, and the work that they have done, we can only be thankful to the God we serve. So to Tyra, Kelly, Free Minds Book Club, and all of the young brothers and sisters that work with you, 3 cheers for you because you made Washington, D.C. a far better place. Thank you.
Hello, Free Minds family. I'm Terrell Brown. I had the distinct honor of being the first ever Congressman John Lewis Fellow in 2017. It was an experience that shaped my life. I felt in awe to follow the Congressman's footsteps and talk to youth experiencing family incarceration. It meant a lot to me to read Free Minds books with them and know I'm making a difference. Happy 20 years, Free Minds.
I'm Tony Lewis Jr. I just want to say happy 20th anniversary to Free Minds. Thank you for all your contributions to our community. It's an honor and a pleasure to partner with you guys over the years, and particularly getting slugged to a lot of the members. So keep doing what you do. Our city is better because of your presence. Peace and love.
Hi, my name is Regina. I'm a Free Minds member. I love reading books like Know My Name by Chanel Miller. Happy 20th anniversary, Free Minds.
My name is Jamie Gray, and I felt so lucky to be selected as the 2020-2021 Congressman John Lewis Fellow. It allowed me to use poetry to educate the public on the traumas the criminal legal system inflicts, and to unite us all in working together to make change. Celebrating 20 years of writing for racial justice. Happy anniversary, Free Minds.
From all your friends at Shoutmouse Press, happy anniversary, Free Minds. I mean, 20 years is a long time. It's a long time to be doing work that is emotionally hard. Fighting entrenched systems of injustice and inequity, and showing up every day for individuals for whom too often no one has shown up. And you do it with such love and with dedication and perseverance. And somehow you center joy and affirmation for your Free Minds members, most importantly. I know you know some of the lives and your work is impacted, and I know you're hearing from them tonight, but you cannot possibly know all of them because there are many. There is probably someone right now who's reading a Free Minds Connect magazine or handwritten notes on a poem they wrote, or one of the raw and powerful pieces in a Free Minds book. And in this moment, feel seen and heard and not alone. So you cannot know them all, but on the hard days in particular, trust that they're there. We are grateful for your partnership. We are moved by your mission, and we are so proud to publish the work of your Free Minds members and to spread their stories and their voices as widely as we can.
Wow, that was so beautiful. What a circle of partners and friends we have in Free Minds. I'm really quite overwhelmed. I want to give a special shout out to all of our amazing volunteers who have worked tirelessly for years. You know who you are: our letter writers, our poem typers, our write nighters, our beloved card maker, Dory, our Free Minds newsman, John, who's been sharing news from the outside with those behind the walls for too many years to count. A huge circle of support that we could not do our work without. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. When I think about the past 20 years, we've had so many big moments, but it's really in the countless small ones that truly demonstrate the power of Free Minds. Moments like a book club member assisting another member who was reading a book for the very first time. Our reentry book club members sharing advice, job openings, and laughter with each other at their weekly meetups. A text from a member thanking a reentry coach after going to his first ever therapy session. Our Free Minds members are driven to help the community. They are reaching their goals, leading book clubs, serving as mentors and advocates for system change. And most of all, they are parents, siblings, loved ones, and neighbors. They are the key to a transformed city. If you would like to support Free Minds and our work of creating a future free from incarceration, you can make a donation tonight. We currently have a waiting list for members to join. Every week we get calls and letters asking to be part of the community. Your gift will help us ensure we can serve everyone. I want to now just share a few goals for the future ahead. We're going to expand our peer support training program, where members are paired with fellow members and providing invaluable social, emotional support as they navigate the challenges of reentry. We're going to increase our prison book club and provide more educational and leadership opportunities for our 1,000 members in over 100 prisons across the country. We will continue to improve already strong reentry outcomes. In the past year, 89% of Free Minds members were working or in a vocational program, with only 3% reentering the prison system. Importantly, we will expand our restorative justice work, bringing healing circles to everyone in our communities impacted by harm. I'm inspired every day by our members as they look deep inside, recognize and heal from their own trauma, and become true change makers and peace builders, dedicated to preventing future harm. We will further the reach of our community education project with poet ambassadors working to change the narrative around youth violence and mass incarceration. More than anything, we'll continue to spread our message of hope and healing far and wide. Now, it's my absolute joy to share a bit about our honoree tonight. So I could certainly read off his literary accolades, such as his status as a #1 New York Times bestselling author multiple times, or his many, many awards. But my favorite thing to share about Clint is his commitment to Free Minds. Clint was a facilitator of one of our book clubs at the DC jail for 2 years. His books are popular reads in our book clubs, and his work as an educator has been invaluable for our members' self-organized Black History Learning Group. If you haven't already read, everyone needs to read absolutely critical book, How the Word is Passed, A Reckoning with the History of Slavery Across America. Clint, we are honored to have you in our corner, and thank you for your dedication and support. We're going to show a brief clip from C-SPAN's Book TV, where you can see Clint in action in one of our book clubs and what we call bibliotherapy, the healing of wounds through literature. And then Free Minds member James Dunn will present the first ever Glen McGinnis Racial Justice Award. And then we're going to turn it over to Clint for a very special reading.
And it's interesting to think about when you're home and when you leave home and then when you come back home, how different things are. Do y'all think about that?
All the time. Okay. That's all that's probably the main thing you're thinking about.
Say more about that.
Well,
The crazy thing you just said that I've been locked up for 24 years. I ain't been in DC since '96. And when I'm riding here, I'm keep seeing these buses. So I'm saying to myself, man, what all these tourist buses doing around here? But all the time, it's the Metro bus. Just a little thing like this, a building that wasn't there before, the stuff that looks so different. And back what you were saying was, life just goes on, but you don't realize it when you're in jail. People grow. It's just like one time I seen my mother. I haven't seen her in 18 years. But I still got the picture of her young, moving, and she come in with a walker, and I'm like, it just, time just moves so quick, and you just don't even realize it in jail.
Good evening. My name is James Dunn, and I'm the current Congressman John Lewis Fellow here at Free Minds. As the Fellow, I use my voice to create change in honor of civil rights icon John Lewis. I have the deep honor to introduce the recipient of our first ever Glen McGinnis Racial Justice Award, Clint Smith III. Clint is an award-winning author, poet, educator, and overall change maker. Not only did he devote his time to facilitating one of our book clubs at the DC jail, but he has also had a profound impact on Free Minds in other ways as well. Our book clubs have read his writing, and his powerful book, How the Word is Passed, sparked deep discussion and reflection. His online course on Black American history has been invaluable to members in our reentry program who are invested in studying our history to better understand our present and to work towards a brighter future. In recognition of his contributions to our community, it is my honor to present this award named after Glen McGinnis, the original free mind. Welcome, Clint, and congratulations.
Thank you so much, James, for that wonderful introduction, those very kind words, Tara, the whole team at Free Minds. I am so moved and so honored to be the inaugural recipient of the Glen McGinnis Racial Justice Award. It means more than I can say. Free Minds is an organization that has played an enormous and hugely influential role in my life. As was said, I started teaching with Free Minds in the DC jail in 2018, and I can't bring to words how impactful, how meaningful, how profound those years working in the jail were. The young men that I worked with, the folks who have been in for life that I worked with, the folks that I learned from, that I laughed with, that I engaged with. I was working there when I was getting my PhD in studying the relationship between education and incarceration. And I think that Free Minds was an exemplar of what it means to use literature, to use writing, to use conversation, to use discussions, to use books as a way to establish a connection between the people who are incarcerated alongside one another, and between those who are incarcerated and those who are outside of prison and jail. So those years for me helped ensure that prison and jail wasn't just something that I was thinking about in an abstract way. It wasn't something that I was thinking about in just as an intellectual exercise. I was spending time with the people who were directly impacted by this system. It gave me a sense of moral urgency to understand, to more deeply understand the systemic and structural realities that shape contemporary mass incarceration. So I'm endlessly grateful to Free Minds. It has played an invaluable role in my life, and I am just honored to be a small part of the story that is Free Minds. So I'm going to read a couple poems, given that this is that seems like the appropriate thing to do in the context of this event and in the context of all the work that Free Minds does. As was said at the beginning, it feels incumbent to sort of name the sort of tension that exists in the moment we find ourselves in with the tragedies unfolding in Palestine and in Israel. So I wanted to read a couple of poems from my latest book, Above Ground, which is thinking a lot about the simultaneity of the human experience and the way that so much of thinking about what it means to move through the world, having sort of interpersonal moments of joy, of love, of levity, but also amid the backdrop of a sort of ecological, political, and social despair that feels like it's often happening all around you. So these three poems, I think, speak to the sort of questions that I've been wrestling with a lot in my work over the course of many years, and I think they speak to some of the realities happening in the Middle East right now. The drone. The drone was once a scrap of metal. The drone looks as if it might be a toy. The drone is not a toy. The drone could have been something else, something other than a killing machine. The drone could have been a house. The drone could have been a spoon. The drone could have been a swing. The drone does not know who it is going to kill next. The drone is going to kill next. The drone has learned to disguise itself as a shard of sky. The drone's hum is a disembodied echo. The drone was mistaken for a star once. The drone renders itself celestial. The drone scoffs at sovereignty. The drone asks, what is a border if I can fly right over it? The drone was built by a man. The drone killed a man and a woman and a child. The drone killed a child and did not see her face. The drone does not see a face. The drone sees a body, and then the body is gone. Pangea. Imagine each continent, a splintered tessellation of wayward fragments, each mass of land attempting to jostle itself free. Pangea was the last of the supercontinents, a mass of land that came together and broke itself apart several times before. It should come as no surprise. Don't we all eventually return to something we can lose ourselves inside of? Can we blame the desert for missing the breeze that tumbles across the grassland? Can we blame the tundra for its desire to witness the wrestling of pines? Just the other day, a bomb killed 70 people across the sea and no one around me heard a sound. These days, I find myself blaming Pangea for the sounds I cannot hear. I decry the continents for their careless drift. I detect the tectonic plates for their indifferent quake. I wake up in love with the ocean and fall asleep despising all that it has put between us. Perhaps if the continents had never shaken themselves free, we might find ourselves disabused of this apathy. Perhaps if we could hear the bomb dropping, we might imagine what would happen if it struck our own home. I'm nostalgic for a proximity that may not have mattered. I find myself loathing a miracle. The New York Times reports that 200 civilians have just been killed by U.S. military airstrikes, and the man on television calls it unfortunate yet inevitable collateral damage. And I wonder what it is that turns mourning into a metonym or a proclamation of conjecture. And I read his bio, and I see that he has a wife, and I can't imagine he would call it inevitable if her body were pulled from the rubble. And I see that he has a son, and I can't imagine he would call the boy who bears his name collateral in someone else's war. And I see that he has a daughter, and I think of what it might mean for someone to render her final breath in inevitability of realpolitik. And I understand what he means. I know he means that war is callous and unforgiving, that a militant can surround himself with a dozen women and children so that the pilot must decide between a target and the ache of his own heart's detonation. I do not misunderstand the cruelty of war, but I regret the way we talk about its casualties, how their lives become tacit admonitions, how the tyranny of a border made out of thin air means bombs are only dropped on one side of it. But I too have felt empathy corrode inside my most cavernous parts, have taken the quarters from my pocket and used them to cover my collusion. Who among us has not used spare change to cover our contrition, or laid a wreath of sympathy atop the bodies of names we do not know? And I'm not sure what it means for us, not to be the ones to fire the bullet, but to behave as if the bullet always belonged in that chest and not our own. Now I'll read one more poem. This poem served as the catalyst for my nonfiction project, How the Word is Passed. And I think for me, poetry is both the creation of art, but also the mechanism by which I do my best thinking. And so I often write poems as a way to figure out what I'm thinking, as a way to figure out how I'm making sense of a question, of a history, of a conversation. So this poem is a poem that gave birth to, in many ways, the How the Word is Passed book. And it also, sometimes when you're a poet writing nonfiction, you take the stanzas and turn them into paragraphs and put them in at the end of one of your chapters and hope your editor doesn't notice. So this is both a poem that exists on its own, but also an excerpt from the book. Growing up, the iconography of the Confederacy was an ever-present fixture of my daily life. Every day on the way to school, I passed a statue of P.G.T. Beauregard riding on horseback, his Confederate uniform slung over his shoulder, and his military cap pulled far down over his eyes. As a child, I did not know who P.G.T. Beauregard was. I did not know he was the man who ordered the first attack that opened the Civil War. I did not know he was one of the architects who designed the Confederate battle flag. I did not know he led an army predicated on maintaining the institution of slavery. What I knew is that he looked like so many of the other statues that ornamented the edges of this city, these copper garlands of a past that saw truth as something that should be buried underground and silenced by the soil. After the war, the sons and daughters of the Confederacy reshaped the contours of treason into something they could name as honorable. They called it the lost cause, and it crept its way into textbooks that attempted to cover up a crime that was still unfolding. They told us that Robert E. Lee was an honorable man, guilty of nothing but fighting for the state and the people that he loved, that the Confederate flag was about heritage and remembering those slain fighting to preserve their way of life. But see, the thing about the lost cause is that it's only lost if you're not actually looking. The thing about heritage is that it's a word that also means I'm ignoring what we did to you. I was taught the Civil War wasn't about slavery, but I was never taught how the declarations of Confederate secession had the promise of human bondage carved into its stone. I was taught the war was about economics, but I was never taught that in 1860, the 4 million enslaved black people were worth more than every bank, factory, and railroad combined. I was taught the Civil War was about states' rights, but I was never taught how the Fugitive Slave Act could care less about a border and spell Georgia and Massachusetts the exact same way. It's easy to look at a flag and call it heritage when you don't see the black bodies buried behind it. It's easy to look at a statue and call it history when you ignore the laws written in its wake. I come from a city that is filled with statues of white men on pedestals and black children playing beneath them, where we played trumpets and trombones to drown out the Dixie song that still whistled in the wind. In New Orleans, there are over 100 schools, roads, and buildings named for Confederate soldiers and slaveholders. Every day, black children walk into buildings named after people who never wanted them to be there. Every time I return home, I drive on streets named for those who didn't think of me as human. Go straight for 2 miles on Robert E. Lee, take a left on Jefferson Davis, make the first right on Claiborne. Translation, go straight for 2 miles on the general who slaughtered hundreds of black soldiers who were trying to surrender. Take a left on the president of the Confederacy who made the torture of black bodies the cornerstone of his new nation. Make the first right on the man who mounted the heads of rebelling slaves on stakes and spread them across the city in order to prevent the others from getting any ideas. What name is there for this sort of violence? What do you call it when the road you walk on is named for those who imagined you under a noose? What do you call it when the roof over your head is named after people who would have wanted the bricks to crush you? Thank you all so much.
That was absolutely piercing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And when you say that the poem was a catalyst for your book, I want to ask, with our community of readers and writers in Free Minds, with so many members pouring out what they think about, what the injustices that are happening in the world, the collateral damage that you talk about, what can you share? What advice would you give to our members, to our community, our volunteers, how we can use the arts, use literature to reckon with the history of slavery, to bring the truth to everyone? What can we do? What can our community do here tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is the process of educating yourself. I did not write How the Word is Passed as an expert on the history of slavery. In fact, it was the opposite. I wrote How the Word is Passed because I wanted to fill in the gaps of my own understanding. I wanted to fill in the gaps that existed in my own education. And so I moved in through the project with a sense of humility, with a sense of curiosity. And I think that's a role that writing can play in all of our lives, right? We don't have to write from a place of expertise. We don't have to write from a place of all knowing. We can write into our curiosities. We can pull the reader along as we go on our own artistic, intellectual, social, political journey. I think there's a lot of value in that. I think sometimes people feel like they can't be a writer because they don't know if they have anything to say. But you always have something to say. And maybe what you have to say is a question. Maybe what you have to say is a wondering. Maybe what you have to say is, I don't know. But that is also valuable. And so I think the experience of writing into your curiosities is something that we should all take seriously, whether you're writing to be published or not. I'm a published writer, but the vast majority of things that I write I don't publish. The vast majority of things that I write are just for me. They're how I wrestle with questions. They're how I think through what it means to be a human at this moment in time, and how I want to sort of who I am relative to who I've been, relative to who I want to be. And that's one of the things I love about poetry. That's one of the things I love about writing, is that it allows you to wrestle with questions without necessarily having to have the answer. So I think just being on that learning journey, finding the books, finding the films, finding the people to be in conversation with, that's really valuable. And writing into spaces of the unknown is also really valuable.
I love that. Writing into the spaces of the unknown. Well, I wanted to open things up and give our audience a chance to ask questions, and we can see what's in the queue. I know you talk about the dehumanization and prison. Let's see here, prison, as we know, intentionally separates loved ones, um, divides communities. What are ways that that learning journey and that arts and writing can break down those walls? Our members are incredible advocates, change makers. How can they use their writing to really change policies and end mass incarceration?
Yeah, I mean, I think that so much of the writing that Free Mind members do already is so valuable because it shows that incarcerated folks are human. They're ordinary people, just like you and I, and they are not perfect. They are not people who they are people who sometimes have made mistakes, but we've all made mistakes, and because of the sort of arbitrary nature of birth and circumstance, some of our mistakes manifest themselves as second chances, and some of our mistakes manifest themselves as being sent to prison and being sent to jail. And so I think it's important that we take seriously how so much of what puts someone on the trajectory to become entangled in the criminal legal system are things that have nothing to do with that person, are things that have everything to do with the context they were born into, the circumstances they live in, a sense of desperation that exists because of decades and centuries of public policy that created landscapes of inequality and a lack of access and a sense of desperation within certain communities. And so I think, the things that have been most meaningful for me and the things that I've heard from others are stories, right? I mean, there are examples of podcasts that people listen to. I know there's Ear Hustle, which I think has been transformative to a lot of people because it's given people, it has stripped incarceration from the realm of the abstract and has instead made it individual, made it tactile, made it sort of relatable, because these are dads, these are moms, these are brothers, these are sisters, these are boyfriends and girlfriends, and folks who just like all of us just are trying to make a meaningful life in the best way that they know how. But there are also, I think about all of the Free Minds anthologies that have been put out. I mean, those are an incredible resource because it's stories of people experiencing joy, but also people struggling with the realities of incarceration. Those poems, those essays, those stories reflect the complexity and the fullness and the texture of the experiences of incarcerated and formerly incarcerated people. And so I think the more that people recognize and remember that these are real people, and the more we recognize and remember that, but for the arbitrary nature of birth and circumstance, it very easily could have been us inside of that prison rather than somebody who gets to walk in and outside of one, then I think the more we will be reminded of the sort of moral urgency of the moment to get as many people out of these situations as possible.
I love that, Clint. We have one more question from the audience about, with all your research, with how the word is passed and all the stories of your families and your ancestors being enslaved people, and your grandmother was so, to me, also just deeply, deeply touching. How do you release that trauma? I know for our members, a lot of writing is getting it on the page out of their heart and their souls, but how do you let that, with all the work that you did in that book, how does that affect you personally, and how do you keep going with that?
Yeah, I think I try to extend grace and generosity to myself. I think I try not to be too hard on myself. I try to give myself, listen to my body, listen to my spirit. Sometimes you need to step away. the subject matter. Sometimes, I have two young kids. I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. When I was writing How the Word Is Passed, they were even younger. And so, they were not coming to me and asking me about my experience traversing Angola prison. They were like, get on the ground and be a brachiosaurus, be a choo-choo train, So they were both my respite and my reminder of why this is so important. So for me, so much of it is about family. So much of it is about giving yourself grace. And I think I try to engage, this is certainly a huge part of my work and my writing, but I'm like everybody. Like I watch, Netflix shows that, and bad reality TV and spend time laughing with, friends and family and in the same way that we all do. Those are the things that serve as respite for me. Those are the things that serve as reminders for me, I think, too, of what we want for everyone, right? Like those are the moments, it's those small, everyday, quotidian moments of like laughing on your couch with your partner, watching a TV show, or of, having a drink at a bar with your old friend, or about going on a walk through the park with your kids. That's what we want to create for the people who are currently entangled in the criminal legal system, who are currently in jail and in prison. Those are the moments that we want. It's not always the huge thing. It's not always the wedding and graduation. It is those things, but it's also those like everyday, ordinary things that sometimes we can take for granted. And so I try to remember that is what, this organization is working toward. That is what so many of us want, is for people to be able to have those small moments that make life worth living.
Wow. Well, this has been a big moment, and thank you so much, Clint. I know we could go on for another hour. Your honesty, your passion, they've had such a profound influence, and you really are a beacon of light and hope to our whole Free Minds community. So I feel so grateful and lucky you're here. And also, I wanted to be noted on the record, I never binge on Netflix, so I am an exception to that. But I wanted to say, as we begin to wind down the evening, I'm going to pass the mic to an incredible advocate, a longtime supporter, and dear friend, our board member, Chris Turner. Chris knows firsthand how wrong, how damaging our injustice system can be. He's been wrongfully incarcerated for 25 years for a crime he did not commit. He's an active member of the Mid-Atlantic Innocence Project, and he's part of the Free Minds leadership team. He spent his entire personal and professional life and dedicated to making sure others don't suffer the same fate he and his co-defendants did. I just want to thank you, Chris, for your incredible, unwavering passion for Free Minds and your nonstop, tireless work to make sure the many wrongs righted in our legal system, and for your community leadership. I'm going to pass it over to you, Chris.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Turner, and I'm a proud Free Minds board member. I believe in the Free Minds mission because I know firsthand how important reading, writing, and community are for those behind the walls and coming home. My 7 co-defendants and I were wrongfully convicted of a crime that we did not commit and spent 255 years in federal prisons all across the country. Isolated from family and friends, I personally experienced the life-saving power of books during my incarceration. When my brother and fellow co-defendants were released from prison the last couple of years, Free Minds was there for us all and continues to be there for hundreds of men and women in our reentry program. I want everyone to have the warm circle of support that Free Minds provide. I'm asking you now to give what you can to help us continue to expand our program and be there for new members coming home from prison every week. Together, we can connect our members to jobs and housing, to networks of peer support, and most of all, to hope. Please donate now. Keep the Free Minds movement going strong as well, and write a new chapter of our community. Click the link on your screen, text the number provided, or send a check to the address listed below and know that you are giving to an organization that changed lives. Thank you all.
From the entire DC Council, happy 20th anniversary, Free Minds. I first met the Free Minds team when I took over as chair of the Council Judiciary Committee back in 2017. And I was immediately struck by Tara and Kelly's warmth, passion, creativity, and love for their members. I got to know many of their members over the next 6 years. Those inside would write me letters and poems about their lives, their hopes, their regrets, and their dreams. They'd tell me about their families and what they wanted to do for work when they came home. And they talk about how they wanted to give back, especially to young people struggling in their hometown. I also became close with many Free Minds members who were already home, especially the men and women who'd fought down at the Wilson Building for second chances and a better future. I know that Free Minds was a thread that connected them and me, and help them express themselves, stay connected, and figure out their place in the world. Programs like Free Minds are not only literacy and education programs, they also help improve community safety. Because when people find meaning in their lives, words tell them heal, and can see a brighter future, they then re-enter society more easily, maintain relationships with family and with friends, and ultimately, they show all of us the power of hope and connection. So congratulations again to the entire Free Minds team, especially all the staff and members I've gotten to know who were so deserving of a second look. On behalf of the Council, we thank you for your passion and for your purpose, and we wish you many more years of advancing your mission of healing, growth, creative expression, love, and connection.
Good evening. I'm Shannon Battle, the 2020 Congressman John Lewis Fellow and Free Minds Advocacy and Leadership Development Specialist. Free Minds means to me making good trouble, and that means changing the harmful laws and ending youth incarceration. I started a book club for Black boys in DC to let them know how special they are and that reading opened doors. Happy anniversary, Free Minds. 20 years of books and belonging.
Good evening. I'm Craig Watson, Free Man, 2021 Congressman John Lewis Federal, and peer support specialist. Free Man means to me being there for each other, showing love and caring to help us all get through the hardship of being behind the walls and ejected back home. We are peace builders. Happy anniversary, Free Mind. Can't wait for the next 20-year anniversary.
Congratulations to Free Minds Book Club on your 20th anniversary. We have been honored to walk with you in this journey as you support individuals working to turn their lives around.
Books open up a whole new world for so many of us, and creative writing can be such a healing process. Thank you, Free Minds, for the life-changing work that you're doing for our incarcerated siblings. We wish you many more years of success.
Happy anniversary, Free Minds, 20 years. Tara, Kelly, congratulations. I remember when the boys and young men of Light Pieces to Masterpieces, they were reading the poetry of your amazing young men because they weren't out at the time. And now look how far we have come. Thank you, and thank you for being with us as solid partners at Life Pieces to Masterpieces, coming in and teaching the next generation of poets and writers and readers. And just from my heart, thank you for everything. Happy 20th anniversary. And I'm looking for us, Life Pieces to Masterpieces and Free Minds, being connected arm in arm for the next 20 years or more, taking it into the future. Much love.
Wow, thank you, Chris, and all our amazing partners who walk with us that are Free Minds. You believe, and you always believed in the mission of Free Minds, and I just can't thank everyone enough. I want to tonight just thank a few of our dear friends, longtime supporters who sponsored our event tonight. Andrew Ferguson, Janet Liebert, my wonderful sister, TLC, LLC, Rebecca and Stephen Milliken, Sue Carlton, Dave Roeder, Michael Fromm, and Pam Schiffliger. Thank you and thank everyone who has donated to Free Minds. From the bottom of my heart, I can't really express what it means to have you on the Free Minds family. Free Minds uses the tools of books and writing to forge connections. It's transformative in prisons and jails. And every one of you make up the Free Minds family. None of us can walk this road alone. These connections sustain us, inspire us, and have brought solace and healing to me personally and so many others. So as we wind the evening down, I want to say thank you again to all of you who have helped us through the last 20 years. And I look forward to the future as our members, our leaders, our favorite words are reader leaders, writer uniters for racial justice, and we're together in solidarity. Have a beautiful night, and thank you all.